So, me and Austin just watched yesterday, I believe, the this Trial of the Seven in Chicago. What's it called again?
The Trial of the Chicago Seven.
Trial of the Chicago Seven, which is about Chicago riots, like the 1960s, where the police actually were like, starting law stuff, and they were just like blaming it on like protesters and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it's. Oh, go ahead.
Summary. Oh,
Okay.
so it starts off with pretty much it shows civil rights icons being assassinated, which was Martin Luther King and I believe it was Kennedy, or no, it was John Kennedy's brother, John Kennedy. Then moves towards a attorney's office where the attorney general says, "I want you to sue these group of people," and they said, we've never done this before, and it's usually for African Americans, if anything else. And we're like, well, I don't care, just do it, because it's a loophole, pretty much. So they do sue them, and it kind of goes back and forth between time periods of the court and what's going on in the court and what they're recollecting and what happened in the riots. The judge pretty much is the South Park version of a judge, where he's just telling everyone to shut the fuck up and we'll wait until you're guilty, and then that'll be about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is one thing that's a little odd, is that it's actually 8 people because there's a black guy in it. Which again, I told this to Matt. This is also the South Park version of racism, or is this like they're yelling at these guys, and the black guy's like, "Why am I even here?" And like, "You shut up, you!"
Well,
you start beating.
Was it all set up anyways? Like they had the 7 people, they had the black guys, so it seemed like scarier. Then they had the 2 like nerdy people, where they were just gonna let those 2 people go at the end to make it seem like the court system's fair. They're gonna put everyone else in jail except for like, oh well, these 2 nerdy people, they didn't seem like they were did anything that bad, so we're gonna send them back because justice is fair, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all set up.
So yeah, it was all set up. And what was it? There were 2 2 jurors that were asked to leave because they were given pieces of mail that said, "Hey, you're the Black Panthers want you dead," because they sent messages to your parents, and they're like, "Okay, I guess I'll leave." But it's like he's like even saying, it's like, you need to leave, like try to do that. But I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was just say because earlier on, the 2 attorneys that were representing the Chicago 7 or 8, they said, "Oh well, we're actually having some support from jury 6 and jury 11." They were nodding a lot and agreeing with our points. And then the next scene, the judge says, "Oh well, we just some of the jury people, they got threatening letters from the Black Panthers." And they're like, "What? Which ones?" And it's 6 and 11. They brought them in.
He's like, "Oh, what a coincidence!"
They brought him in, and then one of the attorneys said, "Hey, wait, hold on, I want to talk to you real quick, Judge." And he's like, "No, she needs to see this real quick." He's like, "Well, let me talk to you real quick." He's like, "No, let her read this." And they're just kind of fighting about this real quick. And then he gives the letter to the girl, saying like, "Oh, we're watching you. Make sure you do what's right or whatever." And the judge is like, "Do you feel safe doing this now? Do you think you can do an impartial vote, knowing the Black Panthers are watching you?" And she's like, "No, I don't think I can." So, and they said, it was all set for the 2.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, even the lawyers are just kind of like, for the love of God, they knew what was going on here.
Mm-hmm. That's smart though.
So,
I mean, it's scummy, but that's smart.
It's kind of like a loophole that they're just like, how far can we go with this law type thing?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes pretty general for a while. They go back and forth and saying what you recollect, but there's a point where the African American, because he's not supported by the lawyers of the 7. He's just on his own, so he can't really talk. But he's just like, "Hey, I just ate cereal," or he's having breakfast. And at one point, they take him into another room, beat the shit out of him, and then gag him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, "All right, you're gonna be nice," but the lawyer for the State Department says, you have to put these guys in mistrial. And they're just like, why is that? Why is that? You know, he was speaking out of turn. But he also said that he's now a sympathetic character because you now they pretty much just tied him up and then said, "You're gonna fucking do what I tell you to do."
Mm-hmm.
And so they said you have to do a mistrial, and you're like, "Fuck, okay."
Yeah,
The judge was a little odd. Like, I don't think. I mean, I don't know if he was just like a judge or just saying, "Could you do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
well, if at the in the post credits it showed like some things that happened after, because this thing actually happened in real life. But
Yeah.
it said like 78%. I got at a survey like 78% of attorneys and judges, or attorneys and lawyers, said that that judge was unfit to do this trial. Everyone said that he was like, extremely unprofessional and didn't know what he was doing.
But that's the weird thing about this is that only 78. It's not like 100. It's just the like other
To
portion
be fair,
of
it was
is
like 50% people voted. Almost 50 voted for Trump this year. So
yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like you gotta talk to that 22%. It's just like, do you want to do this job like with him? And he's just kind of like, oh yeah. I just like judges or lawyers like, I can do that. Holy fuck, I would love to do that.
mm-hmm.
You shut people up. But at this point, they're going to the cusp of the trial, which is I think it's on the day 151 or somewhere close to that. And at this point, the 7 who are kind of the leaders of the protests are pretty much kind of getting pissed off, and I can't remember his name, but he's the bald guy, the older gentleman.
It's like Dwight or something. I forget what it's.
Yeah, he's trying to be as nice as possible about this. Like, don't touch me. I'll sit down and just finish this up. But then he gets so frustrated, he assaults someone. So he's just like, oh shit, I'm going to jail because he did do that.
Yeah, because he's like cussing at the judge at this point because like the judges are like, oh, like they're in jail uniforms, aren't they? At this point, because normally they're all
at sentencing.
Yeah, because normally they're all like in suits, and then this one they're all in like white like jumpsuits. But that bald guy, he's like, if you're going, it's like almost like a year and a half into this. Well, not a year and a half. It's like 100 and something days. He's like screaming at the judge.
6 months. Almost,
He's like screaming at the judge like, hey, if you're going to sentence us for, if you already decide that we're going to go to jail for this, just do it. Stop dragging this out. And he's like screaming at him, and then he punches him.
Well, I remember there was this is something that you should remember from Jon Stewart, where there was a guy who was making fun of I think it was Pakistan. They had the same thing where it was just like, if you guys find us guilty, if you know we're guilty, give us an actual trial. You don't have to keep stacking the deck and against us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you really think we're guilty, we would have broke the law. It would be easy for us just to actually have a trial where we saw both sides of the story, but they weren't. Mm-hmm. So he was pushing the idea that you guys just want us to go to jail, and if you give us a real trial, this isn't on the up and up. Because in Jon Stewart's case, when he was talking to that Pakistani guy, he did the same thing where they were just doing comedy. And he was like, "Oh, I'm a CIA agent." It's like, but it's comedy though.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Pakistani government did the same thing where they put him in a jail cell and try to beat the shit out of him. It's like, "We know you're a CIA agent," and he's like, "What?" And then he showed the Jon Stewart skit. It's like, "Dude, that's a comedy show. What are you talking about?" And he's just like, well, because again, they have nothing on him. They're just beating the shit out of him and trying to scare him, and it's just like, no. So it shows that.
I don't remember that.
So at the very end of it, before the sentencing portion of it, where they're all in jumpsuits, they're talking about the actual event, the riot, where they went to the streets in the middle of the night, as well as another riot where they went up a hill to, storm a hill, and of course they got their ass beat because they don't have tear gas, don't have anything.
I don't know, but that just seems dumb. Maybe it was like justified or something.
Yeah, that was dumb. I like how some bunch of kids are just like, we can storm this hill. Like, do you not say they have tear gas, bats? I'm like, what do you? And not only that, they're like, I'm gonna tell the group we're gonna do this. I'm sure some of them were like,
well, they say it was like one random guy in the crowd screamed, "Take the hill," and then they all listened and ran. Cause it's kind of like a mob mentality thing. When you're in the mob, like you kind of just listen to an order that's given.
Yeah. Not only that, though, they're really showing the kids in a very nice light, and I'm just like, didn't one of them talk about making bombs?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
I
that
was,
too.
yeah. I'm like, I don't think they're completely innocent here.
Yeah, it was portrayed like the seven were like super good and innocent, but sometimes the guys are like, man, these guys are kind of like scummy. Like they do teach
Yeah,
them
they
like
are so bad.
this is how you make Molotovs, and then in the beginning, doesn't one of them say like one of the groups? It wasn't the two white kids. Cause the two white kids are like, we're going in there to be peaceful, and it wasn't the old white man, the bald dude.
That was the two hippies.
It was the two
That
hippies.
was kind of like the extremists of the group.
Yeah, the two
where
white
it was
hippies
kinda
were
like-
like, we're going to go there to start violent or whatever. Start violence, weren't they?
Yeah,
Weren't they? One of them was.
yeah. They were more into the violent portion. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they just wanted to be violent, so they can be violent to get violence to them, but make sure the cameras are around.
Yeah.
Was their kind of big plan. And I was just kind of like, dude. But again, I think they really did portray that film to be like one-sided, where these kids are all good old boys and the police officers are scummy. I was just kind of like, I think they're both kind of in the wrong here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they were so.
It's
I'll
not
get back
always
to this
black and
somewhere real
white.
quick.
Like, they're both like in the wrong
Yeah,
and in the
exactly.
right.
Exactly. So at the very before the trial or for the sentencing portion of the movie, the character played by, I know his actual name, I think it's like Sacha Baron Cohen, but his name's Borat.
Yeah.
You guys remember him? Gets testimony, and then the lawyer kind of like grills him, like, why is this? Why is it? 'Cause they had a videotape recording of one of the guys who said, let it run red. Let's fuck this. Like, I don't know exactly what the quote is, but it showed that they were ready to fight.
Yeah, he says if blood's going to run, let it run all over the city.
Yeah, and so, and of course, I think he did a smart thing, which try to sneak in where people are and then get ready to get beat the living shit out, which they did. Like, they were cornered next to this one bar, and they saw all the cops take their name tag off and their badge, and they're like, all right, let's beat the shit out of these guys. And of course, they hit them so hard that they break through the glass, and all these people from the bar are noticing, like, wow, these guys don't have badges or, name tags, and just beating the shit out of each other. But of course, at the very end, they are found guilty, and they're pleading for the sentence. And the judge says, because one of the guys is very well tempered, knows what's going on, but he's just kind of like, I know that I have to do this. The judge says, you have to give me a testimony, make it short, make it sweet, make it apologetic, and I'll make your sentence lighter than the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the guy's just like, okay, and then throughout the film, this shows this, but I didn't really know why. What was the point? I guess he had 5,000 names of Vietnam soldiers who have died, and
that's the whole thing that they're protesting, the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't disagree with the fact that I don't want to go to war.
The draft seems a little low.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, my birthday's on the other day.
That's my
I
brother.
want to see my log for it birth certificate.
My God.
So, and I mean, and also in the first portion of the movie, it shows like the draft where they were sending mail to kids from like 18 to 24, and it's like, if your birthday's on this date, you're going to a war.
Yeah. It was like
At this point, I would just be like, oh well, I guess I'll be a seat repairman or something. Like, I would not want to be a big Marine or something.
I don't think you get a pick. I think they just throw you in, don't they?
I don't know.
I think you're an infantry. Like, I'm gonna be the general.
Everyone go. Like, everyone go.
I gotta choose. But it was a long movie too. I think it was like 2 hours. 2 hours, like 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's a longer movie. I really don't think it's portrays the real true story of it. I think it just pushes one narrative.
Mm-hmm.
The cops always started it. They had no due process, and I was just kind of like, no, you guys were dirtbags too from certain points of view.
Yeah. You
guys were. I'm not saying that you were completely the bad guys here, but they were really selling that point. I'm just like, I don't think you guys were.
Like I said earlier, they both did good things and they both did like bad things. There were like cops that started riots, but there were
I guess
people who started riots too. Go ahead.
There was an old attorney general that took the stand who knew like I was fired because we found that the police started it first, not the college kids. And they were just like, well, the new administration found that the cops did the right thing and the college kids did the wrong thing. I'm like, well, I can't tell you why that is, but no, we did an investigation. Because of course they wanted that narrative to be like, no, the kids did it. The cops are infallible. They just did their job.
But I was wondering when that scene happened, where the attorney was at, or the lawyer. I don't know if it's the same word, but the lawyer is telling the guys.
It was.
No, I'm talking about the lawyer for the 7. He was telling the judge. He said, "Shouldn't they be able to hear this information that the cops started it?" And then the guy said, "No, I'm not going to let them hear it." But if
like he knows, like he's got to say something that exposes them as being innocent, so he knew he just had to take them out.
No, but I'm saying if you let the jury hear that the old administration said that the cops started it, and then you had the new administration saying that kids did it, does it really do anything? Because I mean they don't have time to look into it. They're just hearing two sides saying one did it and one side did it. Do you know what I mean?
Based on what they were saying, which was the new administration found that it is, so that's the current report. So they'll have to go off of that. I don't know if they could have.
No, I'm saying what's the point? What's the point of letting the jury know that the old administration found the cops guilty, but then they say that the new administration found them not guilty? Wouldn't that just confuse them?
Because that would give. Well, no, but they would just say that the water's muddy. That would be what they're trying to say.
In the movie, I thought
this is wrong. What else is wrong?
In the movie, I felt like they that was like the whole like gotcha point. Like if they know this, they're going to vote for us. They're going to say that people are innocent. But in my mind, wouldn't that just make everything like confusing for them?
Well, again, it's just if you prove one thing is a lie or prove one thing is not 100% onto this one guy, you kind of as a lawyer, you have to tell you what else could they be wrong about. But again, it goes back to that bald guy who was just saying, if you actually think we're guilty, if you know we're guilty, give us an actual trial with, so you don't have to stack the deck, because that's what they were doing.
Yeah,
I mean, it was very painfully obvious that they were doing. And I think the directors were trying to hint at like, hey, these are evidence that say these guys didn't do anything. Like it adds on to that, and so it's a decent movie. I really didn't appreciate that they were just giving the kids the benefit of the doubt that they were doing everything right. Because again, that one guy was saying, "This is how you make a Molotov." I'm like, I'm pretty sure. That's not the best way to go about it.
These are the people you want in society. They're going to be Molotov.
Yeah, you don't want those guys. If you want protesting, that's fine. But if you have to make bombs to make your point, you're kind of part of the problem.
What would you rate it?
I give it a 7. It was good narrative. It's about a true event and good to watch. But it does have its shortcomings.
Yeah, I would give it around an 8. I thought it was actually really good. For like the length of the movie, it still kept me engaged and whatnot. The actors were really good. The scenes were really good.
The actors were great.
Yeah, the actors were really good. Especially the judge. The judge was, you really thought like, God, this guy's so dumb. And he's like,
I don't think he was dumb though. I think he knew he was doing.
Yeah, but I mean, you disliked him.
Yeah, and I think he knew it was just like, oh well, because I think the really big thing they were trying to pull off was that he was trying to have the lawyer have sympathy for the black guy, and so he had to take him on, so it would make the group look more guilty to the jurors. Because again, he was there for no reason other than I actually have no idea why he was there. They never really talked about it. It's like, you're just a Black Panther. And you're part of this group. Like, I wasn't even with them, bro. And you're like, oh, do you have a lawyer? It's like, no, he's having surgery. Which I don't get. I would think the Black Panthers would have some money to just say get another lawyer so they can say, hey, this guy is not even supposed to be part of this group.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know, but
so like a 7.5 total. I would say go at least go watch it on
7.5.
Netflix.
Yeah, and then, it's on Netflix, and it's
Semi-new.
it's a good one. But
Semi new.
yeah, it's semi new, and I think it's a better image of like what could a government do when it wants to be right as opposed to actually being right.